Welcome to The Current by TreasureCoast.com, where we discuss interesting people, places, and happenings on Florida's Treasure Coast.
Why don't you give an introduction to yourself and Tent City Helpers, and we can go from there.
Great. I'm Gail Harvey, and I'm the president of Tent City Helpers. We've been in existence this December for 10 years. We're a delivery service. We provide a hot meal, groceries, food from the Treasure Coast Food Bank, 2 pieces of fruit, water, cold Gatorades, and camping supplies, an assortment of camping supplies. We have 6 different stops in Martin County. We start at 3 o'clock at Flagler Park in downtown Stuart on Mondays. So we only deliver on Mondays. And we've had regulars for 4 or 5 years. We have a lot of good relationships with people that are outside. And that's us in a nutshell. I mean, we have tents, tarps, sleeping bags, blankets, clothing, batteries, socks, clothing, hygiene supplies, anything you could need while camping, we have.
You've been doing this for a while, and I guess my question to you is, how have you seen the landscape change with the people you're interacting with and what we're experiencing in this area?
Our numbers are increasing. 2 years ago, we were averaging 30 people on a Monday, and we just had this last week 54, the week before that 70 people come to meet us, get a hot meal, get groceries, and whatever they need camping-wise. We have bug spray as well as and Marty bus passes so that people can get around. Transportation's a huge issue for people that are homeless.
Yeah. How most of these supplies, are you getting these from partnerships, from sponsors, or from people who are donating?
We have people that donate, and we also have the Leslie Alexander Foundation that have supported us in the past. 2 years ago, we applied for the City of Stuart, the AARP money that had been left over from COVID. We've got some of that money, which was specifically for bug spray, Marty bus passes, and emergency shelter, our tents and sleeping bags. So yes, we did get money from the City of Stuart. We get mostly our money from private donations, and then we get some grants from the Alexander Foundation.
Okay, and that outreach, is it mostly, I mean, I had mentioned to you that I'd seen a lot of your Facebook activity or some of your social media stuff. Is that the best place that you've seen getting the outreach or getting the word out? Because I wonder how many people would be aware, especially some of the posts that you have are very, I mean, I think it surprises a lot of people that end up sharing or commenting. Is that the best way that you've seen as far as getting the word out?
Facebook saved us during COVID because there was a huge need during COVID that we were providing antiseptic wipes to everyone, face masks to everyone, water stations to everyone so they could wash their hands. And Facebook saved us during that period of time because, no one was gathering, doing fundraisers or anything like that. But yeah, Facebook has been essential for our getting the word out. And I don't think people really understand that the people out there are brothers, sisters, uncles, fathers. They're all connected to the community, this community. They're not illegal aliens. They're not people from out of state on the whole. Maybe once every 20, 30 people will get someone that's passing through. But the majority of people I see are Martin County school graduates. A couple of kids I had in school are now homeless when I was a teacher, teaching special ed. There's a lot of people with disabilities. And there's a lot of people with hidden disabilities out in the woods, and they're judged immediately. Why don't you have a job? And if they realized what a brain injury looks like and sounds like when they put together their sentences and are unable to communicate well, but they look fine, there's a lot of struggling people here in Martin County that a lot of people are unaware of because they're hiding. They're hiding from the police. They're hiding from authorities that might take their children away. They're hiding instead of coming out and being able to get services that they deserve in a humane county, to be able to provide them emergency shelter when things happen, because things happen, and all in a heartbeat things can happen. And I have 2 gentlemen right now that were in car accidents, and the car accidents demolished everything they had. They no longer have a housing. They no longer have a car. They're struggling with paying for their medication that they need after the accident, are unable to walk as well. You know, we have seniors out there. We have families again out there. The largest, according to the Housing and Urban Development Report for Florida, the largest growing number of grouped homeless folks are families. So the view most people have of someone homeless is not a family, but that's the largest growing group, second to senior citizens. And I've had 2 over 65-year-old men trespassed in their long-term camp and have to move in 24 hours. And they're 65 years over, the 168, 171, having to move their camp all within 24 hours and have, Gail, where do I go? I get at least 5 or 6 calls a week of people just calling me, where do I go? Where can I park my car? I'm homeless. I'm a woman in my car. Where do I park my car? Where is it safe? And it's hard for me to give any suggestions because any place in Martin County, you can be harassed parking your car somewhere overnight. And being a woman, have someone knock on your door at 3 o'clock in the morning to see what the heck you're doing in that parking space. You know, it's just inhumane that we don't have a parking area for people to park overnight, and then that we don't have shelter. We don't have an encampment. And yet with House Bill 1365, it states that each county is to provide emergency shelter so that these people are not getting arrested and thrown in jail, that they actually have a place that they can be dropped off at and get services.
Got it. Is there a place for people who are, I guess there's a lot of angles we can go off. That's a lot to take in, I think, for a lot of people listening to this. Is there a place for people, like you mentioned, the gentleman who was trespassed? Are there places for people to camp if they're, you know, temporarily or long term, they see themselves in that situation where they can set up? I mean, I can see how if they're on someone's personal property for a long time, maybe they don't know they're there. Is there a safe place where they can go? Or a lot of times when you're asked, hey, where can I go? Is it kind of, there's really no answer?
And my policy is not to suggest any place, because then if they go to that place and set up their tent, they could be trespassed the very next day, and it's Gail's fault because she said that this might be a safe place. So no place is safe.
So these are all, there's no public area for them. These are all kind of private.
And even our public county-owned camping areas like Savannah Preserve, Jonathan Dickinson State Park, all have limits, like 2 weeks at the Savannah Preserve, 3 weeks for the whole year. So 2 weeks at a campground is really not going to help a homeless person get back on their feet again and be able to find transportation from places that are outside the city limits to get into town every day to get to work. So, no, there's nowhere to camp legally. And the closest place to get help for like a shelter is Vero Beach, the source. And we have reported different homeless folks telling me that the police have offered them a ride to the source in Vero Beach. They've got the Dignity bus there, which sleeps like 20 people. They pick up the people, they sleep for the night, and then get off in the morning.
Mm.
Okay. So,
I've heard of them.
A shelter, but at the same time, people don't always understand, too, that when you're from an area, all your networking is in that area. And these people, their aunts or their sister-in-law that doesn't speak to them anymore or whatever, live in this area. So just to tell someone to go to Vero Beach for a night on a bus, it's not good. Martin County needs their own place where, like the Martin County Fairgrounds, somewhere that's separate from housing, that's still centrally located, that has running water. These are all requirements from the House Bill 1365. That the county is to provide an encampment with running water, with behavioral health services and security. And we have nothing. In fact, the people that are out there are getting harassed and trespassed each and every place they go. I have one person that's a woman that got trespassed in 4 different places that she tried to set up. And a nice police officer helped her set up in another place. And wow, that's awesome. There's so many nice police officers out there. But at the same time, the next day, another police officer came and trespassed her, and then she got incarcerated. So there's not a standard, I believe, for treating homeless people through enforcement, because it seems like the personality of the officer is involved with what's offered or what's not offered and how quickly they're taken in.
So I guess that really would be the solution in your eyes, is the county setting aside some sort of space where this can be a safe place for people who might be down on their luck. I mean, I know I've heard of situations of local people who, I mean, just a terrible string, and next thing you know, they don't have a roof over their head, and they thought it's never going to happen to them. Right. What are the solutions to keep people from getting there in the first place? I mean, there's so many angles, because the cost of everything, especially housing, is just astronomical, and it keeps rising. But then helping people get on their feet, is it vocational training? I mean, I hate to throw so many things at you, but there's I think so many things we can address.
How the county can help, like in Fort Pierce, they've bought an old hotel and they're housing veterans there. And there's many empty buildings, many empty hotels, many different areas that could be invested in to help support people that are struggling with housing. The housing authority, at least last time I called, has a message that says, sorry, we're no longer taking names on our wait list. Click. So there's not even a waiting list anymore for affordable housing. And a lot of the affordable housing in Martin County is being turned into luxury apartments. And then their price goes up, and then it squeezes out, like my niece who's on the spectrum, out of her affordable housing because it was turned into a luxury apartment. And luckily she has parents that can help her. But a lot of people don't realize that a lot of people out there have parents that don't contribute to their well-being at all. Or even worse, are not involved.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's something that I've thought about as well, because there's a lot of people, especially in my generation, who, if they were down, they live with their parents. And I'm sure there are people who, like you said, they don't have that involvement, or they don't have a backup plan. Is that, you said, the most growing population of, niche of the homeless population is families? Is that what you're seeing? The cause is mostly housing, just the cost of getting your foot in the door for some of these families?
It's all very different. One of the families we're working with now has two daughters, and one of the daughters has cerebral palsy and is severely involved with her handicap. And a family of four is living on the child's disability and still trying to cope with, all the medical things that are involved, and living out of a tent in Jonathan Dickinson State Park. And that's not where a family with a handicapped child should be living.
Yeah, I wonder if I'm sure you've seen people who, or maybe you haven't. I'd be interested to, obviously I'm very interested in your perspective on this, but for people who get their way out of homelessness, or whether long-term or temporary, do you see a catalyst, where the community or private companies are offering some sort of assistance to help, where they're able to, given this, they're able to get their feet back underneath them?
Right Life Services is a nonprofit who recently put an office in Stewart. They're having some success. Treasure Coast Homeless Services Council, which serves the Tri-County area, but does not have an office in Martin County. They recently have been sending an outreach worker with us to go around to our 6 stops. And they are making some headways and getting some of our veterans back into housing. But no, there's not a lot of support out there for getting people back into housing.
I see. So it's basically, it's a difficult rut to get yourself out of once you are in that spot.
No, you don't even know. If you're arrested and for trespassing, you have nowhere to go, and then you're somewhere else, and then you're arrested, and then you're incarcerated. Then when you come out, people don't know that the jail charges people that are in their jail $50 a night. Even if they are released early, that $50 a night for the term that they were supposed to stay is charged to them. Then they can't get their driver's license until that's paid off. So you have a poor person, has nowhere to stay, then incarcerated, and then incurs costs. If you go to court, I have someone right now, a senior citizen, that has $375 court costs. And he says, Gail, I can't pay it. And now I won't be able to get my license until I pay the $375. For someone that has no money, $375 is huge.
Yeah.
So it just makes people poorer and poorer and poorer, and not helping them. And the reality is that homeless people are costing us basically $33,000 a year for a homeless person. And that's incurred costs with hospital stays, with the jail system, with the court system. All of those cost $33,000 taxpayer money. If you're incarcerated, it's like a $20,000 cost to be incarcerated. And if you add supportive housing, it's a $10,000 cost. So we're wasting money doing nothing.
Right.
Money is going out to the emergency room, to the ambulances, to the police cars, to the helicopters that find people in the woods at 3 a.m. and have other officers come in on their ATVs that were just recently bought, almost like to hunt people. And how much does it cost for a helicopter to go up in the air? When we could be spending money to help people get into supportive housing so that they have a place to stay. And there's a program called Housing First. It's been found to be the most effective program to get people that are homeless into places. And it's basically where you help them get into a place. Then they can deal with whatever issues they have, if it's an addiction issue or a mental health issue or medical problems. But help dealing with those sort of issues while you're living in the woods in a tent, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I can see that, where, to your point on just being resourceful with it, I can see how, yeah, you address things like medical concerns, but then it's almost like a bucket with no bottom on it that you're pouring into, because then it's just this recycling. I mean, what do you think what else do you think can be done to help with the problem? I mean, not just based on, you had mentioned the House bill and how the county could set up somewhere with running water that's safe, that's specifically for people who are in this situation. What else do you think can be done? Because you talk to these people. What else do you think can be done to help get them on the right track? I mean, I'm sure there's so many things. Housing is the main. That's it.
It's housing. If they could have a place to put their feet up and sleep. Do you know sleep deprivation does horrible things to people? And can you imagine being out there in the woods? I just had a bobcat in my yard. I have 2 huge snakes in my yard. And I don't want to sleep in my backyard. Okay, here's people in the woods, women, children, and they're having to deal with, oh yeah, Gail, I saw a bobcat too. I'm like, holy hell, if I was in a tent and I'm seeing bobcats and snakes and raccoons and rats, it's just inhumane.
Is there something about the homeless population that you would want people to know about?
Definitely.
Is there anything that you think most people, this would surprise you, or something that you would want people to keep in mind?
Yes, all the generalizations about them being alcoholic, drug users, da 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 da. When you meet the individual people that are unhoused, every single person has a different story. That the generalizations are all off. And to know their strengths. I have a nature savant that knows everything about nature. And some of the things he tells me, because I love nature, some of the things he tells me, I'm like, that can't be true. And I go look it up, and it's true. He knows so much about nature. And he'd make a great, at a state park, working in a state park or something. I know the strengths of the people out there. And everyone has strengths. Everyone has something that they could use to help benefit society. But instead, they're stuck. And it's just, I want people to know that there's many people out there that are not drug users, that are not alcoholics. There are people out there that do have mental health issues. And it's really hard to take, we had a woman 2 years ago who had been hospitalized several times, and she was up, 40 pills a day she was needing to take. Do you know how difficult it is to get your prescriptions filled with that many and then have no money and then be able to organize them? And luckily at that time we had a volunteer who was a nurse, and she took her own time out to help this woman get all her pills organized and sorted and da-da-da-da. But, she eventually died in her tent.
Yeah, the landscape of healthcare is not getting any easier for anyone, but especially for someone if you don't have a cell phone. I don't want to generalize, maybe I'm wrong, but if somebody doesn't have a cell phone or, no internet, and,
Yep.
I can see how that's difficult just getting them refilled, let alone having a steady,
Pay more.
reliable. Yeah, and then having to get appointments scheduled and transportation there. I can see how that's
And
part
that's
of
why the
the rut.
ambulance, and that's why the healthcare costs are so large, because they wait until they need an ambulance,
Right.
and then their health is so poor that it's a long stay in the hospital to get them back on their feet again. Whereas if they had access to health care, like at the fairgrounds, where they could have visiting nurse association or volunteers in medicine, have a setup there that people could go and get help in a centrally located place where they're also camping or staying or parking their car at, we would reduce costs.
Hmm. Yeah. What are your, because we're running up on 30 minutes, and I wanted to get your thoughts on, I think we've covered a lot, but my 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 main question really is kind of an umbrella over all of this. If people are, seeing you on Facebook or they're watching this, what can they do to help you as an organization, but also people who, like you said, are unhoused in this community, and help these people? I mean, there's a lot that I think is a macro thing. I mean, housing is something that, really, it's all over the country, and to an extent the world is feeling it. But on a local level, how can people help?
On a local level, organizations like ours, La Haya, Right Life Services, that are providing direct outreach to homeless folks. It's a great way to be involved, to volunteer, to donate money. We're at www.tentcityhelpers.org. We've got a donate button. We've got the Facebook page. You can follow our Facebook page, Tent City Helpers, also a group page. And what's interesting is we have a lot of homeless people that have phones, and they're able to follow us. And they tell me stuff, and they post their comments, and it's very interesting, the dynamics of being able to have a social media page where regular citizens and our homeless folks are all contributing to.
Yeah, I
And
can see that.
the other way people can help is, I understand, because I was just interviewed by Keith Burbank from TC Palms, that there's going to be up for a county ordinance outlawing any homeless people look like they're sleeping, might be sleeping on any public lands in the city of Stuart. So I would love people to get politically involved, because we can't, I'm so busy running Tent City Helpers and doing our weekly run with getting people to cook food, to go to the food bank and get food and pack the bags and get everything going. I really need people that are involved, being able to go to the county commission meetings, the city commission meetings, and speak up for our people that have no voice and that are hiding. And, the numbers are way off. I did the point in time survey this year, and, one day you count homeless people. Well, we saw 60 people on the Monday before the point in time, and the point in time was on Thursday. So on Thursday, I have to go around and try to find and interview these people, because it can only be that one 24-hour period of time. So there's lots and lots of people that aren't getting counted for the point in time. And as the police arrest more, we have more people hiding. So getting an accurate number is very difficult, but I do know it's growing. Like I said, week before last, we had 70 people come out and meet us that are homeless.
Well, I appreciate you being on. I hope that, people watching this, one of my goals is really to learn more about people who are unhoused in the area, learn more about what you all are doing to help, because I think that people do yearn for that community feel. As communities or as organizations get larger, they start to be state or federal, I think it tends to be disconnected. But it's always good to talk to local organizations that I think have a local drive and a local support. And I appreciate you being on here and telling us more about the organization, about people who are in our community who are going through trouble, and how others can help. And hopefully we can do this again sometime in the future if there's ever something that you feel, you know, is new revelations, new developments that you think could be helpful for people to hear.
Well, I do want people to know that we are totally volunteer. I'm a volunteer. So we basically have no overhead costs. Work from my own home. We have one AC storage unit that we pay for from Tent City Helpers. Other than that, every dollar donated goes directly to services, items for our homeless folks. So unlike other organizations, we've got no CEO, we've got no one paid anything. Everyone does it as a volunteer, as a caring community member.
That's a good thing to mention. I'm glad that you covered that, because sometimes, you've got, some organizations, they've got, for every dollar they get, there maybe 5 cents ends up going to an actual cause, which again, I think is a testament to a lot of these local organizations that have a real local mission.
Correct. As my brother-in-law states, that's in finance, he goes, every dollar donated to Tent City Helpers is really like $1.25, because you're donating your time, Gail. All these people are donating their time, and then you're getting the best deals you can possibly get, and that go directly to the source.
That's awesome.
So I like that idea.
That's a good tagline, yeah. Well, thanks again, Gail. I really appreciate it. This was fun, and I enjoyed talking with you.
Great. And Josh, if you ever want to come out with us on Mondays at 3 o'clock, we start at Flagler Park. You're more than welcome to come out with us.
That's a wrap for this episode of The Current by TreasureCoast.com. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Follow us on social media or visit TreasureCoast.com for local events, tips, and news. Have a guest or topic you'd love to hear on the show? Let us know at TreasureCoast.com. Until next time, keep riding the current and enjoying everything the Treasure Coast has to offer. See you soon.